G'day and welcome to this week's episode of Hooked on Sport, South Australia's local sports podcast. Each week, Hookie reveals the most remarkable SA sporting stories from the elite to the grassroots. In this episode, Ben's tapping into athletics, golf, lacrosse, cricket and baseball. Now here's South Australia's local sports expert, Ben Hook. G'day, Hookie.
Wallace, g'day. You're looking pretty fresh considering you've just got back from an all-encompassing golf trip. How you feeling, my man?
Well, I've had a great couple of days away with some lads down in Tassie, which was nice, and back, but all rested and ready to roll.
You're a bit of an expert on this. If you had the choice of anywhere within South Australia to go and play golf, let's forget the Adelaide Sandbelt, the top 4 or 5 courses there, where would you go on a golf trip to go and play?
Oh, my favourite is definitely Loxton, Mount Compass. I really enjoy Kingston Southeast. They've had the SA Senior Order of Merit for the last 3 years. It's been wonderful. Really enjoy Millicent. I love the layout at Millicent, and also I think Narracourt's another great one that I've really enjoyed. How about you?
Yeah, Kingston Road, Mount Gambier, that is a good golf trip. Even Bordertown, that is absolutely an unknown gem, Bordertown Golf Club. I think you're absolutely spot on. I reckon the Riverland is a great trip, and you can actually come back down the eastern side through Pinaroo and Lameroo. There are a couple of really nice little country courses as well. The other one I'd suggest, York Peninsula. So you've got the dunes at Port Hughes, which is the 9-hole Greg Norman course, which is amazing. But if you want to take it on, there's a few little scrapes courses down there. Port Victoria, Edithburgh stand out in my mind, where you're playing right along the coast.
Wow.
The ocean is actually in play, and you're paying very, very little money to go and play those scrapes courses. So, yeah, if you're ever heading down the bottom of York Peninsula, great place for a holiday, for fishing, but stick the golf clubs in because there's a few amazing places you can play a round of golf as well. Talk about golf, I'm sure. Where do you want to start today?
Well, why don't we start with, an elite athlete who jumped across the border and took away some Victorian money.
Yeah, isn't this a great story? Don't you love it when a South Australian goes over to Victoria and comes back with a trophy and a bit of their cash? Good for our economy. I'm talking about Michael Moschou, Wallace. So he was the 2022 winner of the Bay Sheffield. Young guy, impressive sprinter, but just people need to understand the difference between pro running, which is on grass under handicapped conditions, and basically anyone can win. I mean, you've got to be a good runner, but you don't have to be a superstar, because if you're a good runner but not great, then you get a bit of an extra assistance with the handicap. You start a bit further forward. So Michael won the Bay Chef in 2022, won the Loxton Gift last year. So he's sort of been developing and coming along only in his early 20s. He's been given a mark here in South Australia of 2, which is really challenging to run off 2 metres. He can be competing over 120 metres with some pretty good runners who are running off 8, 9, 10, 11 metres. So he has made 2 finals already here in South Australia. So he hasn't been going poorly despite the tough mark, but he actually went over and ran in the Mortlake Gift on Sunday and came back with the trophy. He wasn't the back marker there. There was a James Lacey, I think his name was, who was last year's winner and the back marker, but he got him and so won it. He's got a 10.48. If I just sort of turn my attention back over to what we're dealing with on what we know as athletics, which is on the track and everyone runs exactly the same distance, he's around the mark at 100 metres. Aidan Murphy's the 100-metre state record holder, 10.33. Michael has run a 10.48. 0.15 per second is still a bit of a distance at that level, but for a young guy who's clearly showing some improvement and some stickability at that level of competition, I think it's going to be interesting to see, what he can do in pro running is now what is essentially South Australia's back marker, but also what he can do on the track. That's going to be really interesting in the next 6 to 12 months. I think we might see him in and around some Australian championships in the next few years. Last episode, you mentioned a golfer, Jack Buchanan, had won. How's it been going this week? Yeah, Jack Buchanan, what a story this kid is going to be, Wallace. So 2 weeks ago, he won the Western Australian PGA in Kalgoorlie, and he's come home to the Wollonga Golf Course, and he's won the WebEx Players Series event that was here. Impressively as well. Shot a course record 62 in the final round to get the job done. It means he's top of the order of merit here in Australia, the Australasian PGA Tour. It doesn't mean a heck of a lot after 4 rounds because I think they'll play 16 or 17 events. But here's the rub. He's got 418 points already on the order of merit. I reckon if he can get anything over 600, which puts him in the top 3 of the order of merit at the end of the year. He's almost certain to earn a European Tour card. And that's where you start to earn some big money as a golfer. I think most people probably look at golf and think, oh, they're all earning heaps of money. The level of golf that Jack's playing at the moment, they are genuinely on the breadline. They are wondering where their next meal is coming from almost. They pool cars, they pool hotels, some blokes sleep on the floor. That's just the way they get by. But Jack with 2 wins, he's probably earned maybe around $60,000, $70,000 in the last 3 weeks. That gets him through the year because they're pretty thrifty, these guys. So that will get him right through the Australian summer. He doesn't have to worry about money. And if he can just hold it together and claim one of those top 3 spots at the end of year order of merit, he gets a European Tour card next year. And if he gets into the right events in Europe, suddenly he's playing for 7-8 million euros. And that's where not only can you start to earn some really good cash, you can get yourself potentially onto the American tours as well. So, and that's where the big dollars are. On top of that, he'll probably get an invite to the Live Qualifier. And if you have a hot day, it's a 72-hole event. It's tough, but if you have a hot couple of days it's a 3-day 72-hole event, have a streak, suddenly you've got an invite to Live. That is cash.
Wow.
That is cash when you're playing for 20 million.
Somebody told me that you played in the Pro-Am. How'd you go?
Well, it's a team event, and that's probably a good thing. I have to be honest, Wallace, I hit the ball okay at the start, but gee, my last 3 or 4 holes, I wobbled a little bit. Played with Rod Phillips, the chair of Golf SI, a guy called Matt Hodgson, who's a Simpson cupper for Mount Osmond, and our pro was Adam Bland. So,
wow.
And Rod Phillips can get the ball
Plays
around
right,
pretty comfortably as well. So I almost felt like the high handicapper in that group, and I'm playing off 3, so it was brutal. No, it was a good day, good fun.
Now, you have some sad news out of Rugby South Australia.
Yeah, we've just learned of the passing of Ted Fidock, probably South Australia's greatest ever rugby player. He played some games for Australia in the 1950s, played against Ceylon, which we now know as Sri Lanka, played a match against Fiji, played against the Maori All Blacks team as well. So that's the pedigree. I mean, we're obviously not strong here in rugby, here in South Australia, and he's probably been our best in history. He won the Don Smith Medal. For those who speak Australian rules, that's the McGarry Medal equivalent, if you like, the best and fairest player in the Division 1 of the Rugby SA competition. He won that in 52 and 59, I think it was. Just as a bit of an aside, his son, John, has also won the Norm Smith Medal twice, so that's a lovely little bit of family symmetry there. John's played 600 club games for Brighton, and he had to play for Brighton because Ted Fidock became an absolute legend of the Brighton Rugby Club, was president of the 70s, and I reckon even into his early 90s, he was getting there early on Saturday mornings, and he was the bloke who'd mark out the field. Sad loss, 98 years of age, died 10 days after his 98th birthday. He'll be sadly missed. He'll be much loved. His funeral is on Saturday afternoon, so that's the 2nd of November at the Brighton Rugby Club. Vale Ted Fidock.
Now, Ben, what was the big story out of the Lacrosse SA Awards night?
Yeah, we'll talk about father-sons winning the State League award. It's actually happened remarkably for the Men's State League Lacrosse Award, which was presented on Saturday night. The Men's Award is known as the Memorial Medal. It was first presented in 1946 and was essentially a tribute to those fallen in World War II. Since the mid-90s, it has been won 6 times by a guy called James Inge. His brother Peter has also won it 3 times. Both of them played for the Woodville Lacrosse Club. James's son Jack played his first full season of lacrosse this year. He plays at the face-off position in centre. If anyone's seen lacrosse, every match starts, the quarter starts, and after a goal with what's called a face-off, which is 2 guys who basically wrestles for the ball on the ground to try and win possession, and off they go. Well, Jack Inge is a face-off player playing his first year. He's the son of James. James, the 6-time winner of the Memorial Medal. Pete, the 3 times winner of the Memorial Medal, is his uncle. Jack has won the Memorial Medal this year in his first full year, just 17 years of age. So Dad 6, Uncle 3, and now Jack 1, 10 between the family. Wow. We revere the Ebert family in South Australian football with Russell Ebert, 4-time Magarey medalist, and Brett Ebert, his son, a Magarey medal. But that is remarkable. In his first year, Jack has followed in Dad's footsteps, winning the Memorial Medal. I've got to tell you about the Women's Award. Anastasia Araviakis won it. She's from the Burnside Lacrosse Club. American import. She was recruited here 2 years ago to play lacrosse for Burnside, and someone worked out that she'd also played hockey in college. And so Adelaide Uni got onto her, invited her out to play hockey as well. So she plays concurrently 2 seasons of state league sport. She plays lacrosse on Friday nights and then hockey for Adelaide University on Saturday afternoon. So she trains Monday, Wednesday lacrosse, Tuesday, Thursday hockey, Friday lacrosse game, Saturday hockey game, Sunday she has off to recover and does it all over again. Was the best and fairest in the competition for lacrosse and won the captain's award for her hockey club, Adelaide University, which essentially is their best player trophy as well. So isn't that remarkable, doing 2 sports at once? I've seen a few women do it in basketball and netball, which run at the same time of year, but to do it in such high velocity, quite physical sports like lacrosse and hockey, to do that together and do it so well. Amazing story, Anastasia Araviakis.
It is amazing, and well done to both of them. I think it brings one thing to mind, is that the influence that people from America, Europe, coming to Australia and playing in South Australia community sport. What are your thoughts on that?
Mate, I love it. And if I can probably relate it back best to my cricket career, you'd occasionally get really top-end English players coming through. But my favourite time was when Australian players would be back and available to play club cricket. I remember playing against David Hooks, Darren Lehman, Greg Blewett, playing with and against Jason Gillespie. And they're my greatest memories of playing with and against those guys. I think for young people, that's how you really learn. You observe how they go about things, and I think that's a great way to learn. So you've been very heavily involved in baseball, Wallace. I'm sure you've seen it. We've seen a lot of it in basketball, 100%. I saw I think her name's Taylor Caudle, who's playing for Walkerville in the softball competition. That's another sport that does do very well with bringing American imports in, and they've been great performers as well. And I am all for it. I just think it adds to your competition. I understand occasionally you're going to get a player that's maybe a bit too hot for the standard, but I think it does so much more good for the sport than it does bad. We should be encouraging that whenever we can. I know it's a financial impost, but if clubs are working within their means, then I think it does add so much to the dimension of the league itself.
And also the influence they have over younger players, coaching, guiding them as well. There's a bonus pod for us. We'll do this, have a look into this one, because I think the best imports across South Australian sport over the years.
Let's do it. It'd be great to research, but I reckon the best South Australian imports of the last 10 years, we'll have to work across baseball, softball, basketball in particular. Alex Starling just cut from the 36ers, but he's probably going to be in our shortlist for the basketball. That would be a fun project, definitely.
Well, maybe that's something that the listeners can actually contribute. Maybe they can put forward their suggestions.
Add to our assist us with our research.
Perfect. Now, the WBBL is underway. Who's caught your eye to date?
Oh, I just have to talk up Amanda-Jade Wellington, South Australian leg spinner, grew up at the Port Adelaide club. The women's competition, or the women's team, collapsed at Port Adelaide. She's moved to West Torrens. She took a 150th WBBL wicket on the weekend. She is just such a trooper. She added 40 runs off 16 balls as well. She's so comfortable in her own skin. She's a very slow velocity, high revolution spin bowler. It's unusual in the modern game, and I think she's been really underutilised at international level. I think she's played 8 T20 internationals, 14 one-day internationals, and only 1 women's test match. But she's been very, very effective in and around all of the women's franchise competitions, but none more so than the Adelaide Strikers. So she was at it again last night. She was such a key, was ice cold by the final over that was really tight against the Brisbane Heat grand final. It was at Adelaide Oval last year and led the Strikers to another win. So, 150 wickets in that competition, one of the best all time of the WBBL, has been there for every one of the 10 years. And has not had the career from an Australian perspective that she deserves, but she certainly deserves a pat in the back from you and I, Wallace.
Staying with cricket, somebody belted 220 in a community.
Yeah, can you believe this?
Crazy.
I mean, I see this. This is a lad who's playing for Ross Trevor, Old Collegians, in the A3 competition. His name is Mitchell Simpson, and I don't know much about him. And I thought, this guy's probably come from New South Wales has played first grade cricket and just got linked up with a couple of mates coming out and playing. He's just way too good. It's his first hit for the year. But he's been playing for Ross Trevor Old Collegians for a decade now. I think he played some junior cricket at Sturt. He made 220 out of 9 for 447, 220 off 206 balls. I think he put on about 130 with his opening partner, and then no one else added more than about 30 after that, and he's made 220 of 9 for 447. The club's previous record highest aggregate score in a match was 441, so they've surpassed that. Yeah, I would sort of leave this alone if I thought Mitchell Simpson wasn't something who'd done had just come in and dominated a competition that he probably didn't belong in. But yeah, he's been in and around for a long time, and well done, Mitch Simpson. 220. That is a lot of runs to get your season underway. First knock for the year.
Now, one of South Australia's well-known umpires has reached a milestone recently.
Yeah, he's been going around 32 years, and Neil Poulton, who you and I both know and get along with very well, his 1,500th club game on Saturday. 1,500 games of club baseball. That is an absolute passion, isn't it? Now, Neil Poulton has actually only recently been elected the president of Baseball SA, so he's making an enormous contribution in more than one field. I knew him when he was running the cricket umpiring program at the South Australian Cricket Association, and I knew he was involved in baseball, but his resume is quite remarkable. He's been to the Olympics, he's been to World Baseball Classics, he's been going around for 32 years, and to have gone through all of that at the Olympics, it would have been pretty easy for him just to, I don't know, they've probably had enough, but he's still out there each and every Saturday, 1,500 club games. So I just had to say congratulations to Neil Poulton. What an outstanding level of service you have given to the game here locally.
Yeah, fantastic. Hookie, great chat. Catch up next week.
Good on you, mate. Always good fun. Talk to you then.
We've crossed the finishing line on another episode of Hooked on Sport. If you've got a local sporting story to share, send us a message via our socials or by email, hookedonsportpodcast@gmail.com. We mentioned a new bonus episode, the best imports to have played in South Australia. If you've had a standout international player in your sport, we'd appreciate you letting us know. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.